Hey, how's it going?
What's
Welcome,
going on?
welcome to the new episode of the Big Ticket. I'm your host, Big Three. I'm my co-host, Jerrylee.
Yo,
How we doing, my guy? How you doing?
doing good, man. Can't wait for this one.
Yeah, man. We have
Like
a lot of
always.
things to talk about. Yeah. So, let's get to it, man. We're joined by a great, illustrious guest. One of the guys who I consider one of the goats in the game in the Eagles content creation. A guy who inspired me to start this all off. None other than from the Philly Talk podcast. We have today this week Philly Mike. Philly Mike, what's going on?
I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging in there for a Sunday. I'm glad to be on the big ticket. You know what I mean?
Oh, appreciate you for coming through, my guy. Um, I wanted to start off today a little differently. I had a show in mind, and then yesterday, we all heard the tragic news of the passing of Dwayne Haskins, former, Washington Commanders, former Steelers quarterback. It was a horrific accident yesterday. Um, but when the news came by, it was a little sour. There was some comments that were put out by someone who's well respected in the game, Adam Schefter. Um, it was just the way he passed the message along, wasn't tasteful. A lot of people were upset about it, and we all know what he said. He called him a struggling quarterback. And let me get your thoughts on this real quick, because, like I said, I wanted to talk about this because I think there was a lot more behind this. I think this is something that needs to be talked about. These are a lot of guys in the national media that we've seen them as of late. They've come out with stories a little too early. They stepped out of place. You know what I mean? They spoke out of school a lot when they're trying to come out with reports. And now with Adam Schefter, who time and time again this year, he's had controversy, and I think this is the worst. And it was callous, it was tasteless. But let me get what your thoughts on the wording of Adam Schefter's post in reference to Dwayne Haskins passing.
It was definitely disturbing to say the least. Just criticizing somebody in the moment of which you are speaking about their name lastly is just ridiculous. At the end of the day, the whole successful term and all that is for the living, right? Once passed away, it's about the person and what they have done. And again, we look at bad players in sports like they're trash. They're still part of the 1% that make the NFL. If these
Yeah.
guys are trash, then what am I doing on my couch? Why didn't I make it? So at the end of the day, we have the ability with social media and we can respond back and we can push buttons and we can say, well, now I'm watching the all 22 and I'm watching it with a beer in my hand. And I see that you obviously missed it. But if it was all that easy, of course, we would be doing it and getting paid millions. So at the end of the day, bad player, good player. The fact of the matter is he was 24 years old and he passed away. And you could say his positives. You could say nothing. Just report what happened. I think it was a very distasteful statement, and he wanted it back right away. Well, he didn't want it back, but he felt the energy on Twitter and took it down. He just repeated it and put out standout. He left it at standout. It was probably about a 40-minute difference. So within 40 minutes, he changed his whole way of looking at it because just some people look at it in a disgusting way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that was
reaction
too bad, dude. That's really distasteful.
the
I mean,
reaction
he's
on
only
Twitter was swift.
24 too.
Yeah,
I mean,
listen. As soon as I saw that message, I retweeted it, and I said, for the most part, listen, Adam Schefter is a piece of shit for saying what he said. Because again, we're talking about a man who was a brother, he was a husband, he was a son. You have to understand that, I don't want to say bedside manner because that's not the word to say, but there's decorum. There's a way to handle things. Even if you had a personal issue, because maybe that's the thing. Maybe he had a personal issue with Haskins. Maybe he has an issue with, non, white quarterbacks or non-white players, whatever the issue is with Adam Schefter, whatever was that made him to say what he did or write what he wrote, there's more behind that. And I think it was very distasteful for what he did. And, like that's something that Haskins' mother, his father, his family has to read that. When you want to see your child recognized, that's not the way to go about it. And someone had put it down in the comments too, and I want to get to this too, because Adam Schefter wasn't the only one that spoke out of turn. We have Gil Brandt talking about that Haskins was, living to die. Those are also very harsh comments, and I'd like to know where this is coming from on their end, because is it race related? Is it something that you had an issue before? You don't. If I think if this would have been Matthew Stafford, if this would have been Aaron Rodgers, you wouldn't have seen comments like that being put out. Granted, they're the quarterbacks who they are, but again, hell, if it was Sam Darnold, I don't think you would have seen those comments. But let me ask you, for Brant, he's on his own. He isn't really a beholden to anyone. But for Adam Schefter, do you think he should be punished for the comments he made?
It's tough. At the end of the day, negligence is wrong, but it's not breaking the law. We got the whole Freedom of Speech Act. The same way we are talking negative about Adam Schefter now is the same way he did it. His is just ours is a reaction to him. But it is what it is. I think he's gonna lose some credibility. Some of the people who probably report to him first say, "Let me go find Ian Rappaport now." You know what I mean? Why would I give you this news first so you could be the first one to break it? And then who knows? The parents could follow these guys, and then that was after hearing the news. The first tweet they read is Adam Schefter, throwing shade at him. Again, we all know Haskins. Being drafted in the first round, he struggled, if not as much as Daniel Jones and all that. But it doesn't need to be said at that time. We all talked about Haskins as a bad player for the Washington Commanders, Washington football team when he was playing. But in the moment, football should have been pushed aside, and it was the person who had a bright future ahead of him, regardless of what he does, whether it's in the NFL or not. That is what it should have. That's what should have been approached at the moment. It'd be interesting to see if a punishment did come down, because then you got people in the media who got to watch their tongue, and in the same way, players got to walk on eggshells for organizations. Maybe we should put something in place for media people to bite their tongue, or not to do the reporting and not use their platform as a place to get personal attacks. Again, I'm not part of the media. I didn't go to school for this. I'm not getting paid like that to do this. I'm just giving my opinion, but they are, they have a responsibility that, he definitely needs to be better, especially when he's the number one reporter.
Definitely. Like, I'm old enough to say, like, I came from a time where I didn't get to watch him a lot, but I remember like reporters like Walter Cronkite, and you would hear names like Edward R. Murrow, who stood up for reporting, and they were more about getting the information out to the people, not sensationalizing things like you see now. But I think what's lost is respect. It's great for these reporters coming up now, and if there is any reporter watching it, it's great to have ambition, but don't have that ambition at the cost of empathy to others. You know what I'm saying?
You know what they're doing, really. I mean, the things are so tight nowadays. Like, it's competition. That's what it is. And it's clickbait. Who's getting the most clicks? That's what it's all about. And they don't care what they're reporting.
Yeah, this is a good right here. Des Bryant also went off. He made a point of it. This isn't the first time it's been said. It's not the only person that it's been said about, and that's what leads me to: is this more of a race issue? Do we have a problem where ESPN? Because let's be honest, if ESPN hasn't punished Adam Schefter, then they're going along with what he's saying. You know what I'm saying? They're supporting what he's saying.
So they just gotta have more tact, man. They really do.
Yeah, and listen, I've seen people get fired for less. When you see Paul Pierce having a party in his own home, he gets fired for that. Again, he wasn't doing anything wrong. He wasn't saying anything about him. He's giving you a look into the inside of his home. He got fired the very next day. Adam Schefter's still working for ESPN at the moment, as far as I know.
And you even go back to emails being read and stuff like that. You know what I mean? People could get fired for that. It's.
Yeah. But it leads me to my next question. And this is an overall problem. Like I said, this isn't the first we've heard of this. But for us in the YouTube sphere, we kind of get looked down on by national media. But when you look at the national media as a whole, do you feel like they've been losing credibility, especially on the sports side? Because we've seen, like I said, you hear stories about players, you hear information and things that no one else in the locker room usually gets out. But somehow, when it comes to contract time, we hear all these stories. So do you think national media on the sports side is losing credibility?
Yeah, I think they are. I think they're losing credibility for a multitude of reasons. One, stuff like you said, they're just doing it at such a fast rate, and I don't believe getting a story out there as quick as possible can make you miss a couple details. In Adam Schefter's case, he added a couple details that he was thinking deep back in the thoughts that he thought that the general public wouldn't take it as a slight. Again, we in the media criticize the player, but he's not the player no more. I think that's where you have to just forget what he has done and talk about what, a tragic accident was. I mean, if it was Joe Bob down the street, any person who's 24 years old, whether they're an NFL player or a broke dude with a brother and a kid and a mother and a sister who dies. 24 years old is a tragic accident, no matter who you are. And I'm not going to say, well, this guy didn't go to college, so who? I mean, what?
Right.
What? He's gone. He's gone.
Right.
The national media also does, not as much research as a guy like a Vic 3, a Jerry Lee, a Philly Mike, or anybody, because at the end of the day, right, we might, slight other teams, but I don't care. I'm here to give information about my team. See, the national media, tries to cover everything. And so they look at it as a bold, broad topic. I mean, not bold, but like a broad topic. It's like, oh, yeah, Quez Watkins, he's an okay player, right? We still think he might not be wide receiver 2. We think he's wide receiver 3, but we can explain it better. See, they have to cover all 32 teams. So when they look at the Eagles, they don't break down this, that, and the third. I hear so many people, whether it's Shannon, Skip, Stephen A, they speak about a player that we know, whether it's the NBA or NFL, maybe even the Phillies. And it's like, not really. They get last names wrong. They do this, that, and the third. And it's because they can only look at it from a bird's eye view. No pun intended. But we look at it with the eagle eye view. So I think that just, looking at everything from a distance, they're not able to get it. So it's like, instead of reading the book, you're just reading the chapter names. I think they speak off the chapter names. We give you the in-book analysis. So I think overall, they're trying to get so much, instead of getting the small segment, longer segments with less topics. They're trying to touch everything, and they're hitting it with like, cliff notes.
Yeah, and a lot of it is it's that competition, is them trying to keep up with, let's be honest, with people like us who can constantly get that information out there and faster. But my thing is like I said, if anyone's in here inspiring to be a YouTube content creator, a reporter in the future, like I said, don't let your ambition risk your empathy for others. There was a man out here who lost his life because, like Gil Brandt said, he was living to die. Made no sense, because had Gil Brandt known, Haskins was trying to get to practice to work with his teammates. He was in an accident, went to check out what happened to his car, and was struck by another vehicle. He wasn't the type of kid that you see was in the club. He wasn't driving 140 miles an hour with a DUI. He wasn't doing any of that. He was doing what he needed to do to get better, for the season that was coming up. And he lost his life tragically. Like I said, there has to be more compassion out the national media. Less
it's just disgusting. It's disgusting, man. It really is.
It doesn't matter who's first. Just give out the information. You're not always going to be first. So stop the rat race. It doesn't matter. Just have the best information.
Correct.
Yeah. I won't go too deep into that topic, because it is a very sad topic.
Yeah, it is.
My condolences out to the Haskins family, the Commanders, and the Steelers family. All those fans too. They knew him. They watched him. The Buckeyes family as well. They know him most because he's been there since he was a little kid. And I know for them, it's a sad day today. So, we send our condolences out there to all of them.
Sure.
But moving forward, there was a lot of moves done this week, especially for the draft. The Eagles made a move with the New Orleans Saints. We traded away picks 16 and 19. We talked about it before the week, but let me get your thoughts. What did you think of the trade with the Saints?
Unlike you, I loved it. We have a little group chat, and I didn't realize it. Vic was going off in the chat, and I said, "Hey, let me get up in here and talk about some things." Look, I like it. I think at the end of the day, whether it's for Hurts or it's for the future, the Eagles are still in a spot where we can get better now, which we did. Little sprinkles of getting better in free agency, but this is a team that has built their team through free agency far too often. Mainly because of the miscomings of getting studs and blue chip players in the draft. However, you can't fully build your team in the free agent market for the long term. You just can't. If you're going to continue to do that, you might be able to do it for 2 to 3 years like the Rams did, but they're eventually going to have to hit on some picks, because these guys that they're paying for are going to get older, are going to leave, and then they're going to be, hit with things that, the Eagles are falling with right now, like second most dead cap in the NFL. Now, we all know it's going to skyrocket in the next 2 years, and I think that's what Howie Roseman is banking on, but I like it. because of the capital you got for the future. Not just saying for Jalen Hurts, but also just saying for, growth, that when we look at, and I know nobody wants to think about the future that high, but if you're looking at 2020, 5-ish, right? You're talking about you got possible multiple studs that are not all going to be having their contract come up at the same time. They're going to be like, oh, wow, from 2023 to 2029, we got guys pretty cheaply, and they're studs. You're just making your team better overall. So I like the trade. Possibly we could have got more if we waited, but I think when this deal got done, how you looked at it and said, I'm pretty much trading a first this year for a first, a third, and a second. Because you can say, well, we gave a six and they got a seventh. Once you pass the 6 overall pick, they're all kind of the same, right? Sometimes you get the undrafted free agents who don't get drafted, who are better than your 5th, 6th, and 7th pick. So with that being said, I think it was a first this year for a first, a second, and a third. And I'll go ahead and do your thing, Howie Roseman.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Mike. I actually like the trade too. I was actually one of the first to say it. So yeah, I'm down with it.
For me, my anger came with, it wasn't so much that I didn't like the trade. I understood the trade fully. My issue is we had the power to rule the draft. We controlled the draft in that section. Say right now, if a Thibodeau falls, if a Hamilton falls, we had more ammunition to move up and still secure 2 other draft picks possible. But we didn't do that. Like I said, I understand the trade for the future. But then my thought process is, how we only got a 3-year deal? What are we trying to do? Because usually GMs, that's their job. They're thinking of the future, but they're also have themselves in mind. So they're not going to go past where they're at. So that's what my thinking is. What is how we have planned? Are we going to stick here with these 3 picks? Because we all knew there was a possible scenario that we might use our first 2 and move back out of the first round with that 19th pick to secure. That was something that everyone discussed was a possibility. But again, my thing is we lost the control of the draft because, like you said, we could have gotten something more, say for 16, where a desperate team may want a quarterback or wide receiver and saying, instead of offering 1 next year, we're getting 2 first rounders or whatever the case may be. It would have been more. That was my only issue with making the trade. It's good and all. It secures, how they were saying, if there's any issue at the quarterback position or whatever position, say for Miles Sanders, if we need a running back, we still have a first round pick where we can get top choice in our pick. But like I said, my thing was the loss of power. That was the only issue I had.
Well, see, I don't think we lost any power because we still have the pick. You know what I mean? Like, if we really wanted to get a player, we could still use those picks from next year. You know what I mean? Like, we still have them. It's just different. We got more picks.
I think for me too, my dream of having, Wallace, Wyatt,
the 3
and
picks
Walker,
was nice to have.
getting that lockup with them Georgia defensive linemen, it just went away, and I was a little mad.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, but imagine they all are the studs we believe they are, and then 2020 whatever, they're all like, oh, we're gonna get paid top D tackle money, top edge rush money, all at the same time. It's hard to give them contracts all at the same time. So I think now you got some financial wiggle room. And you got the wiggle room too. Again, Jerry's right? Say we see something we like, we can end up saying, okay, well, guess what? We offer the same thing. We'll give now a first, second, and third to go back up there, right? And you're like, what? You're giving all that? That's only our first round pick, right? So it sounds a lot, but now the other team is getting our deal. But I think that, if we played it that way, right? Say we waited to the draft. Say our picks come up and now nobody's willing to do that stuff. Like maybe we can only move back for this draft. I think that, as much as we say, oh, look at this now, we don't know. The draft can fall so many ways, but I still think we have the ammunition to play shoots and ladders, go up and down and up and down. And I see Howie, exhausting all options.
Hey, good point, cuz that was another one. That was another reason why I was like, if we'd made that move, we could have possibly even made an offer to get DK. Only 1 first rounder was offered, and that was the 10 pick. Like I said, it was just I thought we should have just stayed tight a little longer just to see what we can do, just to see how things play out. As you get closer to the draft, things come unraveled.
Yeah, I feel you too, man. I mean, I look at it both ways, but it's what's done is done, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like I said, it probably may set us up for the future where next year we might get that stud wide receiver or that stud linebacker that everyone's been clamoring for. We don't know. Again, with the future, you never know what happens. And that's probably one of the things that scares me the most because I still have reservations about Howie Roseman.
Yeah,
I mean, you still got to look at it too. Not all these number ones are going to pan out.
Oh, don't
True.
say that.
Well, that was another
Not
reason.
ours.
Like,
I'm just
if
saying
they
in
don't,
general.
Yeah.
if
in
they
general.
don't, you had 3 to see what happens with them. If, like how Mike said, they're all good, maybe a year before that contract comes up or a year or two, you might want to trade one for a first round pick. You're still going to get that capital back if they're good.
True. And here's the thing. You spoke about it. How he doing it for the future, but he only got 3-year window. I think this is for his 3-year window, right? You get 2 studs this year. You get 2 studs next year. You have an extra second round pick, so that on his last year, you got what you've been building up for and these new guys in here. And pretty much what I think he's trying to say is like, well, not saying every year we want to compete, but let's just say, who knows? I don't know what I'm not trying to say which route I'm going. That the Jalen Hurts is the guy route, or we need another quarterback route. However, if we get 2 players in this draft, next year we either get 2 more players or a quarterback, and then the next year we get players with the first round, second round, and beyond. Well, now in the middle of year 2024, which was the last pick he got, you're looking at midway the season like, damn, is this team really about to compete like how he said? Or dang, 3 years later, we still suck. Get him out. So I think that, how he put himself like, okay, you're only going to give me 3 years, but it's me and you, Jeffrey. What are you talking about? You got 3 years this time, right? I love you a lot. That's why I'm giving you 3 more years. You really shouldn't get these 3 years. But since I love you so much, we're going to give you these 3 years. And now he has his ammunition to say, shit, I fucked up a year, or oh, now I can recover. I think if you look at this, two first rounds, 2 second rounds. How come he ain't do that for 2025? He don't give a bleep yet. He's carrying it through his tenure. You know what I mean? So,
for sure.
He got a hit now. He got bases loaded. Can he get one home? Can he hit the grand slam? I don't know. Y'all tell me.
We're about to find out.
I talked about it with the guys on the East Meets West show. We were talking about it, and I raised the question, and I'll ask you this because, as you said, Howie only has those 3 years. Does Howie have to win a Super Bowl in order for him to get that extension?
Nah, not. It'd be beautiful. But like, again, we just saw the Bengals go from like a 4 or 5 win team again due to injuries, but that's been our problem too. They just flipped the script. I don't think he has to win a Super Bowl, but we have to be like, if by he got a 3-year deal, if by this year and next year, we're going into the offseason talking about we are one of 4 teams favored for the Super Bowl. That's where you want to be. That's where you want to be. You want to be where Dallas was last year. Dreaming wise, they just always dream. You know what I mean? You want the media to say the Eagles are contenders. We just don't. We just not going to do what Dallas does year in and year out. And
but then
good luck for that, though. Good luck for media saying that we're going to be contenders.
I think the media does it a lot. I think they kind of put us in the favor of favorites sometimes. Before,
sometimes Brand.
They couldn't do it the Super Bowl season because we were actually not that good the year before we did all that thing. But I think by mid-season, people were really talking about the Eagles as legit contenders. By mid-season of 17-18 season.
Well, let me ask you a question, because you put that saying that he doesn't have to win a Super Bowl. He has to have a team with promise. Isn't that what he did this past year? He had a team with promise that got them to his extension. So do you think that might be the formula? Show promise for that last year. Say that you need me here in order for me to get extended. And then, we'll make some moves. We'll make it look right. But the whole time, we're staying stagnant. We're not getting to where we need. The ultimate goal is to win the Super Bowl.
Correct. And only one team does that out of 32. But here's the difference. We can't, his last year, we can't be last wild card. I'm glad we made the playoffs, but if this was any other year, we would have just missed it. Remember, they didn't, throw in the extra playoff game for both the AFC and the NFC. So I think we have to be, controlling our own destiny, winning the East, the NFC East, and we have to be that team his last year or two for them to really say. I think that with what he has, if as a GM, you can't get your team to be legit in 3 years with all the capital you acquired plus the players you already have, you're talking about first-year head coach, first-year quarterback starting, and you made the playoffs. No matter how you want to cut it, yes, we could talk about the extra spot. Well, thank you, NFL, for giving it to us. At the end of the day, The Chargers had an extra spot too. They played in a tougher conference. Well, that's not my fault. You know what I mean? I woke up and it was sunny. I woke up and it was raining. You still got to go about your business, right? Someone's going to get wet. Someone's going to walk out there with a tank top. I don't know. At the end of the day, we made the playoffs first year, and I don't see anybody getting worse. Will Hurts take the next step where we can sit back and say, all right, let's start building? I don't know, because as much as of a Hurts fan I am, I see things that he has to fix. I just am putting my eggs in the basket of I think he can fix it.
Yeah, I think he can too. And you're seeing him, go out there and he's doing what he needs to do, working with Tom House. What is it, David Thibodeau? I think it's pronounced, or I don't know how to pronounce those French words. But yeah, he's doing what he needs to do. He's out there with Brady now. So I think Hurts is putting himself in that right position. We'll see if that translates onto the field this year. We hope so, but we'll see. But also this week we made some moves, and we signed a former Oregon wide receiver in Devon Allen. What did you think of that signing? For me, I just say it was a camp body, but there are a lot of people that think that there's more hopes out there for him. What did you think of the signing?
I really still don't know what to think of it. I think, it's cool and all, like we got the rugby star. He's an all-pro left tackle. Now we get the track star. Maybe he's a all-pro wide receiver. I'm joking. I think it's just a body in there. I think when you have unproven wide receivers like we do, you really can't put a body in there that you're like, whoa, why we got him? Like, well, why do we have these two too? Like, so they're all bad. I mean, even Greg Ward, who I like what he did, he's sure-handed, right? But if you're clamoring for Greg Ward to be that guy, that means the guys behind him are bad in the sense of Greg Ward can't go nowhere and get a starting job. I'm talking 1, 2, and 3. Greg Ward can't go on any roster and be wide receiver 3. That's why he keeps taking these 1-year cheap deals with the Eagles. If he goes anywhere else, they're going to say, you can be our practice scrambling quarterback that catches balls once in a while, and I love Greg Ward. I really do. I think that, him able to sit inside zones because of what he knows as a quarterback and the chemistry he got with Jalen Hurts. I think one of Jalen Hurts' best pass last year, one of the passes that he actually threw with anticipation was that one back shoulder fade to Greg Ward, and he went up and got it. So there's times I look at Greg Ward like, hey, maybe he can play in the NFL, but there's a reason why. I mean, he doesn't just the Eagles are paying him dirt cheap. So if he thought, and first of all, we're paying him dirt cheap, and how many snaps did he get per game last year? Barely any.
Right.
So if I'm Greg Ward, watching Rager stink, watching JJ only be able to block, watching Quez Watkins, who did transform himself, but being a 6th-round pick, blah, 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 too. I'm watching these guys like, I'm not even getting play here. I'm leaving. But he somehow stayed for a cheap contract. It's because he probably called all other 31, and they said, no, thank you. And he said, all right, I'm ready to come back. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think
I'm going to collect my check.
Collect my check.
They say the grass isn't always greener on the other side. He must have known.
Mm-hmm. But that's where I feel Devon Allen is someone that maybe he has a very fun story. But I would, if I'm a betting man, I would bet that we're not talking about him by midseason. We're like Devon who?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I feel like it's just like a camp body, someone to get in there. Ward might be the same thing.
Not just that. I think it was to take our eyes off DK, or you know what I mean, just to change the story a little bit. You know what I mean? I think that's what it was for.
Yeah.
How he got his burner accounts. He's like, damn, they want me to sign somebody. He's like, hey, snap, wait.
You got kids, bro.
Why is this 27-year-old dude running at an Oregon rookie debut? Wait, I don't got to draft him. I can just sign him. Send them over.
It reminds me of Jeremy Bloom. I hope it isn't the same thing. But hey, man, he looks like he's a freak athlete. Hopefully it translates and he can make it. But let me ask you, since we're talking about these moves, what did you think so far of this offseason?
I liked it a lot. The Derek Barnett return kind of made me feel like, huh? But at the end of the day, a lot of people in the comment section of that video that, is getting a lot of slack because I was too mean to Derek Barnett. It is what it is.
Never too mean, Mike. Never too mean. That's my
It is like
he sucks.
I don't. I'm not a person. I don't normally rant on my videos. I try to keep it I get emotion in my talking, especially in my live streams and stuff like that. But I try to keep it, calm, cool, collective. But I was a little upset saying some things. But at the end of the day, if Derek Barnett is now your Ryan Kerrigan of last year, the guy who just comes in sparingly, well, then I still think you're set up, because at the end of the day, I lost money to Vic 3 for betting with Derek Barnett, and I do believe he has a motor. I think he has a high motor, and there's times that I see him hit that bend, and I'm like, whoa, pause. That is a beautiful pass rush move. Again, I think that everybody on the D line is going to look worse because of how far our cornerbacks play off. It goes hand in hand. I mean, teams look at our scouting report, and I think they did say in the beginning of the season, Derek Barnett on one side, Josh Sweat or Brandon Graham on the other side, Javon Hargrave, Fletcher Cox. Well, let's game plan for quick passes. Take our chances with their corners. So they come into the games thinking about getting the ball at their hand fast. Then when we back our cornerbacks off 10 yards off the cornerbacks off their wide receiver, they're like, well, now we're really going to do it. And it keeps the pass rush at bay. When you got to get your hands up, stopping to get your hands up is taking off your burst, off your bend, off your aggressiveness. And when the quarterback's getting the ball out in 2.5 seconds, 1.5 seconds, you can't get there, things start to get in your mind. You start to do this and a third. Penalties start to arise. I'm not excusing Barnett for that because not anybody else did it, right? So I think that everybody took a hit on our D-line, but the main reason I can say Barnett is still Barnett because he was, he plays with an attitude that I don't like. But I do when I watch him, he's explosive. The people who talk about Brandon Graham didn't come around until he was 26. That is true too, right? We can't always use, look at Josh Allen to Jalen Hurts, but we don't want to look at Brandon Graham to Derek Barnett. The thing is his discipline. And when somebody refuses to do what they're, to just, settle down, that's uncontrollable. I mean, if he's getting us 11, 12 sacks and doing it, we're still talking about it. We're just not as mad because he got us 11 to 12 sacks, but he's not doing that and he's creating disruption. But I took too long on Derek Barnett. I'm mad because I lost $100. We might have to make another bet. I'm just kidding.
I'm up for it.
But overall, I mean, Hassan Reddick, I think Zach Pascal is a decent wide receiver, a guy who, like, if you had to make me pick Pascal or Greg Ward, I think Pascal jumps him a little bit, which is not much, but it's still something. And then, Kaiser White, I think you got some good additions when Howie has said multiple times that we are not building for 2020. We're not right here for just 2022. We got a long way to go. But now if he drops the honey badger on top, well, then I love it. Right now, I'll give it a C+, B- ish.
Not bad, not a bad grade. See, for me with Derek Cox, I have my thing with him. I already know the player he is, and for me, I'm not trying to waste that time. He's already at a point where he's established. He is the player that he is.
What were you saying about Graham though? Were you thinking Graham was not out of Michigan?
When Graham came out, I'm not gonna lie. When Graham got drafted that night, I was so mad. I had to leave my apartment. I took like an hour walk because remember that was the year Earl Thomas got picked right after him. Earl Thomas on this team would have been ridiculous, and we needed that safety. Again, let's be honest. Graham worked out in the long run, but that amount of time that it took him with Earl Thomas, the team could have been greater. Earl Thomas was legit. The team would have been a whole lot better if we had drafted Earl Thomas. Luckily, Graham was here. He's the guy that helped us get that Super Bowl strip sack. We all know history. He made history here, and then I appreciate him for that.
Who recovered it?
Oh yeah, that was Barnett, no doubt. But that's the thing I was going to say about Barnett. I think Barnett has all the tools to be a great player, and the thing is, he doesn't know how to piece them all together, and then he overthinks things, and then when that happens, he gets frustrated. Hence the penalties. That's something that within this time that you've been in the league so long, you're at the point where you need to stop that. You need to focus more. You need to put the team first instead of yourself because let's be honest, those selfish penalties are putting himself before the team.
This is the year he's going to do it.
I would hope. Listen, like I said last year, if it ain't now, it's never. So right now I'm looking at it like it's not going to happen. If we see something out of Barnett, like you said, if he's playing that role of Ryan Kerrigan and he gives us those 2 sacks, that's a whole lot. Those 2 more than what Kerrigan did. So right up there, that's an upgrade. That's the way I'll look at it. I won't give him the credit of, I think he's going to be a saver. He's going to do good in his rotation. If he gets his 2 sacks, I'm cool with that. A little bit too much money, but it is what it is. Howie likes to spend.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm over here with the wrong comment. But let me ask, because this week also we seen our quarterback Jalen Hurts going strong. He's hitting the phone lines, texting his former teammates, friends. He reached out to AJ Brown, who's having a little contract situation out in Tennessee. We all know this season, if a wide receiver or a player in general is not signed, you're available. So, what do you think of Hurts trying to reach out to AJ Brown?
I love it. It just shows the confidence that Hurts kind of feels he's staying here, right? Like if I'm really hearing behind closed doors that I'm not the guy, or I really think it, I'm like, let me just go to work and that's it. But he's looking for the future. I would love AJ Brown. He fits everything I want in a wide receiver. And again, if you're looking at the AJ Browns, the DK Metcalfs, is it really possible? Maybe. If it's not, it's not. If it is, it is. But I'll always take a proven talent over a unknown talent. Um, but again, it also depends on where your money is, because you get a DK Metcalf, you got him for this year. Next year, you got to pay him his big deal. And
Mhm.
if you think he's top 5, top 7, he got to get top 5, top 7 money. And that position is going to be asking a lot of money nowadays. I think you saw Tyreek Hill's deal. You saw what Stephon Diggs got. You know what Michael Thomas had. You know what Amari Cooper had. 20 million is going to be the going rate for a B plus wide receiver. If you are a B plus, you start at 20 million. If you're A, keep it up, keep it going up. So it's just a general consensus, right? Gas. I'm not going to stop driving because gas got expensive. I just got to invest more in it. I can't complain about it. So you want the wide receiver, you got to pay for the wide receiver. So I really do like this draft class, though. I think we got some DK Metcalfs and AJ Browns in this draft class. Will they come to the Eagles? Probably not. Knowing Howie Roseman, we'll probably get the Jalen Rager and the
Oh
J.J.
man.
Whiteside. I'm just kidding. I have a good feeling about this one. So as much as I would get DK or AJ Brown, I'm thinking that I'm going to come out on my own channel and say this. I think it's better off us if we're going wide receiver. You get one of these guys, get the right guy, but now you got 5 years paying pennies on a dollar. If you can get a Devontae Smith, Jamar Chase, a Justin Jefferson production, it's better. Even though you're getting that from AJ Brown and DK Metcalf, the money you're going to spend and the time you're going to be able to build your team before you have to do that, right? All the TV deals are going to be here in 5 years, before 5 years. So I'm thinking, as much as I like DK and AJ Brown, at this point, if you can guarantee me one of the ones that I like, that if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. I think I might take a rookie wide receiver instead. I know I've been saying veteran and all that stuff. I wanted a veteran that was going to come in here and cost us, whatever million just to be in the room. I wasn't trying to break the bank, and I think both of them you got to break the bank sooner rather than later. So at this point, give me a stud rookie and then hope for the best.
Hey, it sounds good. And right now, pickings are slim. There ain't that many receivers out there. And like I said, even though they're not signed, you still got to make that trade. You still got to make that offer to the GM, and it has to be something enticing for them to give up that player. So it's going to cost you for trying to get over for a signed player. But speaking of an unsigned player, what are your thoughts on Tyrann Mathieu and the possibility of us signing him?
I want him bad, and I think I don't understand. Like I said, I saw all this side reporting about us getting him, and then Ian Rappaport came out and said it like that. I'm like, I put in the video out, and I was like, let me just say, like, let me prepare him, because I'm thinking that this was, I knew it wasn't imminent, but I thought like an hour or two from that reporting how he was going to put the pen to paper. It didn't happen, and then you saw Ronnie McLeod go off the board, and I spoke with Dave Spadero about this. I said, could you see the Eagles, if all else fails, bringing Ronnie McLeod back, drafting a young rookie in this draft, and let running it back one more year, because this ain't the all or nothing, but you can get a guy like you got Kelsey, you're going to teach whoever's in the offensive line room, like you got Fletch, who's going to teach who's ever in the D tackle room. Now you could have a Ronnie McLeod who's going to teach whoever's in the safety room. I think that's where we were gearing up, and now that the Colts took Rodney, I'm like, maybe Howie does got it. Again, I saw Jordan Schultz say something about a dark horse in the Rams. I'm tired of hearing the Rams name with free agents. It's like,
Yeah.
if you ever don't believe that there's a salary cap, just look at the Rams and then you're like, well, the Eagles. Look at the Eagles and Cowboys. They got money and they're not trying to spend. But then look at the Rams. They don't got money and they keep spending. How? It is what it is. I think that the Eagles defense, you think of defensive line and you think of, I always think that every time the Eagles defense was something to talk about, we had a safety back there. When our defense wasn't something to talk about, we had no safety back there. Tyrann Mathieu at 29 years old still fits the build of what we want. A guy who can just do whatever you want. If you look at him, I forgot who broke it down on Twitter, and I think Gate even broke it down in one of his videos. You know, the amount of snaps he played at single high, free, on the strong side, at the linebacker position, in the slot. He can do whatever. My man even stepped out and guard cornerbacks on the outside in some weird schemes. And he's a guy who just wins. If you look at him, drafted to the Arizona Cardinals, went to the Texans, now to the Chiefs. Every team he's played on, they somehow get 11 wins. And I know football is the ultimate team sport, right? Basketball, you control your destiny, offensive, defense. Baseball, you can hit a home run whenever you want if you can do it. Not whenever you want, but you control that. Football, you got to look to your 10 guys to your left, the 10 players on the field with you, and you go as they go. So it wasn't him necessarily winning, but there's something to say about a guy who, wherever he goes, they get 11 wins.
Right.
You're like, how? Remember the Texans back in
Talent,
the day,
man.
they always flirt with the playoffs with the Matt Schaub Texans and the Carson Palmer / Kurt Warner, Cardinals. Whenever he was drafting, don't quote me on who he played with and for when they were playing on the offensive side quarterback. But he's a winner, he's a baller, and he looks good in green.
Yeah, that's for sure. Defenses do win games, and that's for sure, man. I mean, because when you think about it, defense gives your offense more chances to score. So, I mean, defenses wins, man.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mike. Like he's a great field general. Like he'll put the young guys, he'll show them what it is to be a pro and how to approach the game. He'll give them a different look. Because right now, when we talk about it, these corners, these defensive backs, they're pretty much on an island when you look at Coach Gannon's defense. So when you have someone like Tyrann Mathieu coming in, he's going to help the back end a lot. He's the knowledge that he brings, I think, is more valuable than what he can bring physically. You mean like we all know he lost a step, he's not as fast, but again, that knowledge that he has, he might not be fast enough to get to that spot, but he knows to get to that spot before that receiver gets there. You understand what I'm saying? Like he already has the knowledge. Before you get that speed, that's one thing. You can go off of raw talent, you can go off your physical abilities, but after a while, you're going to need that knowledge because that is what carries you through. That's what makes you a better player. I think Mathieu has that. But we'll see if we can make that move. But you also mentioned Ronnie McLeod. Let me get your thoughts. What did you think about him signing with the Colts?
Now I saw he signed, but can somebody let me know what he signed for? Because I did not. I got a little upset, and I wanted to just tweet my goodbye speech to him that I didn't see what he signed for. Right? Was it a 1-year deal?
I thought it was a 1 year possible too, but if someone in the chat has that info, bring it up if you can. I know East Coast Gridiron Sports is in there. He would have that.
Yeah, somebody let us know in the chat what he actually signed for, the year and the money. But yeah, I thought it was another sign that we were gonna go get Tyrann Mathieu. It was fun. No, it wasn't funny, but again, we were in the market for Marcus Williams, right? And he was gnawing over the numbers and blah 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 blah. The Baltimore Ravens bid us and they sat in the third. However, we were in the market for a safety. We realized that was a need. And as soon as Marcus Williams went off the board, then we signed Anthony Harris to a short-term 1-year deal. But that was the move. That was the counter move. Dang, Marcus Williams, we didn't get him. All right, let's bring him back just for GP. All right. And that's why I thought Ronnie McLeod was going to be out there as the move if once Tyrann Mathieu went off. Because the Colts were rumored. At one time, the Colts were the lead candidate for Tyrann Mathieu. Now, again, you go to the Saints, you hear what they had to say. You feel the Eagles call. Now, again, maybe we didn't say what he wants to hear, and he can always go back to the Saints. But I think, when you look at when the breaking news comes out, I can't see it being any other team than the Saints or the Eagles. And,
I agree.
Money is important too, but Tyrann Mathieu is a guy who hasn't lost games in a while. And I think if you look at the trajectory of the Eagles, we're going to be better sooner than the Saints. And so with that being said, just come to Philly.
Come.
Right.
Hey, and I said this on my little goodbye thing. I'm gonna be rooting for Ronnie McLeod over there because it's nothing against us. We don't have to hope the Colts lose now because the whole year is done with Carson. I said I'm rooting for you every single game. 52 champ, except for when he play us. But a shout out to Ronnie McLeod for still being able to do it. I thought he came down the stretch strong. So did Anthony Harris.
Mhm.
And more power to him. I think what he done in 6 years was pretty good playing alongside of Jenkins.
Yeah. Shout out to my guy East Coast Gridiron on the spot as always. He put, yeah, they haven't, released the information, but it's a 1-year deal so far with the Colts. So probably
And
like a 1, possible 2, depending on what it is.
Yeah, and then he just said one year, not finalized yet, but speculation is 1 year, 7 mil.
Yeah. That's a nice deal. That's
So
something that we
look,
could have done.
if the Colts paid this man 7, we could pay Honey Badger 11. Like, you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying, man.
11.
Well, do you think that we should have resigned McLeod?
I think that was my thing. Like, if Tyrann Mathieu goes off the board, go get McLeod. Go get McLeod. And maybe McLeod for us does a 1 year 5 mil, 1 year 6 mil, because he stays in the city. My man he's big with what he does for the city of Philadelphia and everything. So I think that he would have gave us the discount to maybe get him for 5 mil and stuff like that. He don't gotta move. He's just a standout guy. But I think that he heard we were hot on the trail for the Honey Badger. And Howie Roseman, as much as we want to call him the Weasel and this, that, and the third, right? He communicates with guys like that, right? Like, I think he was on the phone with Jenkins. They talked about what the numbers were. He just said, I can't do that for what you want. And the Saints game with 3. He didn't finish the Saints contract out. So, you know what I mean? So, he wanted 3 years from us. Imagine we give it to him and then he retires midway through his thing. Like, we'd be a little upset. So, Howie was right on that, even though he played pretty decent for the Saints in their first and last year, going back to New Orleans. But I do think that Ronnie McLeod couldn't have came to us, and that was my move, because I'd rather have Ronnie McLeod back for 1 more year to prep whoever it is, whether it's Epps, Kavan, or this question mark we might draft. But now he's forcing the hand of Honey Badger. Thank you, Ronnie.
Yeah.
Well, with that, let me ask you then. How do you think? We talked about the Honey Badger, but if that doesn't work out, how do we fill that void at safety?
Yeah, I think they're gonna give Kavon Wallace the first try. I think every to start the season, he was the guy up right away. He got hurt, and then Epps came in. I think Epps, they feel good about him just coming in spots. I don't see them not drafting the safety. I'm not saying they'll draft them high, but they will not go through this whole draft without drafting a safety. But if you go ahead and draft your guy in the 4th round, the 3rd round, is he better than Kavon Wallace? Is he better than Marcus Epps? Who knows? I think that, somebody will be there. I think my first guess would be they'll give it to Kavon Wallace. I still think they're a little high on him, even though he hasn't shown me nothing. Coming out of Clemson and getting a stamp from B. Dalk, man. I had high hopes for him. Plus, I always thought he played the strong safety position exactly how it should be played, right? Tough, strong in the box. That's what he did at Clemson. He was a blitzer. He played running backs and tight ends out the backfield. He was never going to be a guy who does what Tyrann Mathieu did, right? He was never going to be a free who can just roam back there and deflect 50-yard passes, running with the cornerback. Corner gets beat by a receiver. He's over there over the top. He was never going to be that high-flying guy over there. But he's not. He hasn't done nothing yet. And, I don't want to talk too down on him. He hasn't had all the opportunities. The first game he ever played, he got thrown in there against one of the best tight ends. Who was it for the Niners?
He got Kittle.
Kittle, and he got Kittle because Kittle got killed him. Welcome to the NFL, Rook. I still have a little hope. He just does too much talking, and I haven't seen it, so I can't. I'm not gonna be like, well, because I got nothing to go off of except for what I saw in college, but that's a different story, of course.
Yeah, man. I had high hopes for Kayvon when he came out of college. I said he was going to be the defensive player rookie of the year. Defensive player rookie of the year. I had it locked in. That. I had a lot of faith in the guy.
He wasn't even best rookie on our team.
Dude, yeah. And that was an issue, with him always on Twitter, talking, running his mouth. And then last year we seen him.
He talked you up, Vic.
Yeah. Oh, no, listen. But like I said, I seen the kid playing, and his game at the time backed it up. You seen him playing. He played corner. He played out safety. He played linebacker. He was all over the field. When you see that going into the NFL, especially for us as the Eagles, how we like to, move him around like chess pieces. I thought he was going to be a standout. It didn't work out. He talked more than what he could back up. But last year, he went backward. He got off of the Twitter. You've seen it when he would comment, it'd be less likely. And when he did comment, it wasn't anything, out of the ordinary. It wasn't anything crazy. Just praising the good man above. That's pretty much it. But if he
What do you
is
think
given
about
that,
Jacoby Stevens? Bergang just said that. Jacoby Stevens, you think he'll get a shot? I know they have, I don't even know what he's labeled as, a linebacker or safety. I know he played safety at LSU. But when we pick players that say LSU, we always change their position like we did for what's his name? The cornerback that used to always get beat on double moves. Can't think of
we're
his name.
talking about burnt toast.
Yeah, what,
Talking
what
about Mills?
That's how Philly Fresh calls him burnt toast. We're
no,
talking about
but
my guy from Buffalo that we got from Buffalo.
no, not even him. He's with the Patriots
Who-
now. Green Goblin.
Mills.
Oh,
Jalen
you're talking about
Mills.
Jalen Mills.
So Jalen
Yeah.
Mills was a safety in LSU. We took him and we made him corner. Now we take Jacoby Stevens, who's a safety at LSU, and make him linebacker.
Well, I think with the signing of Kaiser White, that eliminated Jacoby Stevens because I think that's the player that they were looking for. Someone who could be a linebacker, cover the tight ends, and could possibly move back to safety. And he had that cover skills. We all know when, at least for me, I seen lucky enough to see White in high school where he played safety most of the time. Was a very good player, large, physical, but he can play both roles and he's very good at coverage and he can get at the quarterback. So I think for Stevens, that signing spelled trouble for him. We all know 7th round pick, you get 1 year. Doesn't matter. You get 1 season. So right now, if he can't make it as a safety, he won't make it at all here.
Yeah, they definitely don't hold them picks to high regards.
Yeah. But one safety I'd like to talk about, and it's been surprising, and I spoke about it before, but I want to get your thoughts on it. What are your thoughts on Kyle Hamilton falling in the first round?
I mean, it's weird how some teams look at certain positions, right? Like a lot of teams, including the Eagles, try to downplay linebackers, right? And maybe teams are trying to downplay safety. They're saying, if you got your corners locking up, dropping back in zone and or playing man, you got linebackers dropping back. Maybe you don't need the best safeties. I don't know what it is because Kyle Hamilton showed everything on film that he's a very versatile player who can do a multitude of things. I don't see it happening. Of course, I saw the thing that you tweeted, and then I saw a lot of other people tweet it. I forgot who it was. I forgot what Twitter account posted it, right? Saying, per this source, they could see him falling to the back end and blah, blah, blah. If it did happen again, like CeeDee Lamb to me, I thought was going to be the first wide receiver off the board. Yes, I thought Henry Ruggs was nice. Same with Jerry Jeudy, but I thought that he would be number 1. I thought he was going top 10. He fell to 17, right? Before the draft, CeeDee Lamb was always going, 8, 9, 10, 11, 8, 9, 10, 11, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then when Ruggs, Jeudy, then CeeDee Lamb went, it makes you think, right? You got JOK and Asante Samuels deep into the second round of last year's draft. Landon Dickerson with a first round grade goes to the second round. I'm not even saying that far, but if he could fall to just the Philadelphia Eagles, that would have to be my take. I mean, no matter what D tackle, what defensive ends there,
no blinking an eye.
Just taking Kyle Hamilton because again, I still think we have the next first round pick that we can go there. But again, when I look at the Eagles defense, when we're always good, we have a line, but we also have that safety play. And if you give me that blue chip player in the back end for multiple years, I'm taking it.
Listen, like I said, if that's the case, if there are NFL teams dumb enough to pass up on Hamilton, by all means, I got the safety net ready for him to fall. I'm ready to catch him.
No pun intended.
I would move up to get him.
Like I said, if he goes, I doubt it because I feel that he's not getting anywhere past 4. Like he's not going anywhere past 4.
No, I don't think he's getting past 4, 6 even. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like that. I think that's as far back as he can fall to 4. But if for whatever the case he does, and he starts falling, like legitly falling, we see maybe 8, 9. He hasn't been picked up. That's the time we need to move. Yeah, that's the time we need to make that move. But speaking of another blue chipper that's out there with the possibility of falling, what are your thoughts on all this talk on Kayvon Thibodeau, who I believe is the best defensive end in the draft? But let me get your thoughts. What do you think?
And another player that if for some reason he's hovering around 8, 9, 10, you got to make that call. You got to make that call from 15 to 10. If it costs, if it costs you the 15 pick and a third round pick, and maybe you got to give up that second round pick for 2024. I don't know. I don't know how far you need to go, right? Because it's a point system. You got to work off the point system. If it doesn't equal the point system, they're not even gonna acknowledge it, right? Like a lot of fans like us, and even I did it for the longest time until Gate City put me onto it. Say, well, they're trying to make trades that sound good, right? But no, there's a point system which each one is worth and blah 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 blah. But he's a guy that I would look at, and again, when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, I was surprised that Dave Spadero told me that cornerback is very high on their list as, not just what we need. Of course we need it, but like he tried to make me believe that Howie Roseman believes in the cornerback position. And I kind of was like, well,
no,
watch the Eagles. I don't, we go offensive lineman, defensive lineman, right? I think he believed in the trenches and it was instilled in him by, Andy Reid, but so he's not the sexy pick on the offensive side, but the defensive side it is. And I think a guy like Thibodeau or Thibodex, however you say his name, Thibodeau, how he will do, he sees him slip and how he will do whatever it takes to get a guy like that because we can use him. And you get that blue chip player on that side, and that's why they're getting paid so much. At the end of the day, the best way to affect a quarterback is to get him off his mark. We saw the greatest of the greats lose games because of that, right? If Tom Brady can turn into something else because of a pass rush, or Pat Mahomes, or Peyton Manning at times, no matter if you get the fast quarterback or the movable quarterback or the pocket quarterback, when you can get them off their mark, right? The object is you're in today's game. If it's a good quarterback, you're never going to shut them down. You just got to get him. You got to stop. You got to contain him, and you got to, make
mess
him
up the
miss the
timing.
biggest plays.
You got to make him see ghost.
Yeah.
You got to do it, and that is the best position to do it. That's why the left tackle gets paid so much money on the offensive side because it's the position that guards the blind side, hence also guards probably one of the best players. If your best players on your defense is your defensive ends, that's a scary defense. You can't really name me a defense who don't have two great pass rushers that are bad overall, because two great pass rushers can make C+ corners look good. When the ball's coming out sloppy, when the ball's coming out fast, when the ball's coming out before you're done with your route, it makes corners who will normally get beat not get beat, right? If Rasul Douglas' worst attribute is he can't stop people that 40 yards down the field, 50 yards down the field, well, how long does it take to run 40 yards? The best 40-yard dash runs in 4.3, right? 4.3 guys are fast. So if quarterbacks hold the ball for 3-4 seconds and you can get at them, well, then you don't got to worry about beating them over the top and whatnot. So I just think that edge rusher is the premier position on any team. And if you can get a guy like Thibodeau as East Coast Gridiron spelled it out for me, I love it because I'm the worst name pronouncer in the world and I love it. Some people comment on my videos upset, like literally upset with me. Like, bro, I'm not gonna be able to watch you no more because you can't pronounce name. I'm like, cool.
Wow.
See ya. Bye.
It's bugged out because you know what? People that say that, when you actually talk to them in their own personal lives, they don't know how to talk them damn self.
Yeah.
Right.
I actually I
grammar queen.
Yeah.
When everyone's behind, typing, they're all perfect, but in real life, they're not. No one's perfect.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is wild. But let me ask you. We talked about it before. We mentioned the receiver position, but do you think that the Eagles will draft a receiver, and if so, who would be your top choice?
With 2 picks now, I think I don't know. I know the first pick won't be receiver. I don't believe it would be receiver.
Be defensive end.
Yeah, that's what I think it most likely will be. But at 18, if they went Jameson Williams, I probably wouldn't be mad. I think the only reason he would be there at 18, I think that if he never got hurt, he would have been the first receiver off, even over Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson is nice. I like Drake London too, as a big body and whatnot. But I think that I forgot who I watched, and I watched what he said first, and then I try to look at some of the details. watching his tape more, because I'm about to have my top 5 wide receiver video coming out very soon. Breaking down as much as I can break down. I got some all 22 tape from college from somebody, but not for all the guys I want to break down. However, he's a he's a just a bigger, stronger Devontae Smith. At the end of the day, like he got he's like Devontae Smith and Henry Ruggs combined, just with 15 more pounds, 10 more pounds, 15 more pounds. I think he's an excellent route runner, and he gets that second gear like nobody. He's quick. Now, how does that injury affect him? That is the risky part. But I think if he never got hurt, he wouldn't be at 18. So I wouldn't be mad if they did that. Garrett Wilson would be my next guy, but I think he'll be picked. I think, a lot of people look at him as one of the best receivers in this draft. It's going to be tough, but right now I'm leaning Jameson Williams, but I'm not mad if they go to defensive players, because at the end of the day, as bad as our, Jalen Hurts is, people say in our offense, we still are 12th in scoring. We know we're going to run the ball next year too. Jalen Hurts is going to develop, but and you need a guy to take some pressure off Devontae, but the defense needs a overhaul, right? We're older there. If you look at all the young pieces are on the offense, at running back, at quarterback, at wide receiver, at tight end, at left tackle, at left guard. The defensive side, cornerback, safety, lineman, a defensive line, all have the 30-year-olds, the senior citizen cards. So you got to go defense. But if we went offense, I wouldn't be mad. There's some second round guys too, I believe, that can change the complexion of this team too, if we did go to defensive players. But who do y'all like?
I like John Mechie later. You know what I mean? Like if we got John Mechie later, if he's injured, but we get our defensive players first and then get him later.
Simple, yeah. I see him on a lot of mocks, like even around the third round. And again, I don't know how true that's going to be, because if it only takes one team to like him to come up and say second round, get him, thinking he's a steal. But John Mechie is a guy, and same with George Pickens. I see him later in the thing, that I think he's a good guy out of Georgia.
You mentioned Williams being more like Smith. I think for me, it's Olave out of Ohio State. The kid is a great route runner, tremendous speed. We've seen it. He's a great deep threat, but he can do all the underneath too. That's what I like about him. For the first round, for me, if there's a second, and I think he may possibly fall to the third, remains to be seen, is Christian Watson. I think the kid is like a Deebo Samuel's talent. I'm not saying that he is specifically 6'5", got crazy speed. Can run the ball, catch, great hands. He's the player that can do it all, jack of all trades, if you will. So that's why I like him. Again, second, possibly third.
Are you worried about him playing in the same in that horrible college division? What is the division?
Nah, because the Carson Wentz, I think school of Carson Wentz, and if you've seen the players that come out of her since Carson Wentz has come out, you've seen multiple players that are coming on to the NFL. So they've been proving themselves. That school, that program, before Wentz left, 5-time national champion. They got to be doing something right. They're producing good players. It's just at the time, no one was looking at them. Give, Wentz is for what it is, but he put eyes on that school.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Like I said, I just just going over, and there's I like Alex Pierce too. That's a receiver that nobody really talks about. I don't know where he'll fall, but he's a guy I'm looking at. Jalen Tolbert, as Bird Game 31 said, he's pretty good. I don't know if he breaks my top 5. He might be around there, but like I said, I'm about to drop that video in a couple of days. But there's a lot of receivers. You can find your guy in the second and the third too. But there's something about Jameson Williams that I'm just like, bro.
For me, it's the injury.
I know it is. But I'm just saying, like, I don't want, I just don't want it to be like one of the things where, like, say there's again, if we go wide receiver at 18, right? Say Olave's on the board, say Drake London's on the board. Like, my thing is, I'm gonna be upset whether I agree with it or not, that we go ahead and pick one of them, and then the guy behind us, 2 spots behind us, is the Justin Jefferson and the Jamar Chase of the whole thing. And again, quarterback play matters. And again, not necessarily saying Kirk Cousins is better than Jalen Hurts, but in the style of play, Kirk Cousins is going to throw the ball down the field as much as possible. He don't care what happens. And so, I don't know. I just cannot see us take another wide receiver and wide receivers a little bit after him start to bowl out. I'm just gonna lose it. I can't go another draft where receivers after hours goes off.
ACL. We'll see. We'll see. Like I
Today's
said,
medicine is really good with ACLs. Like
Yeah,
Achilles is different. Achilles is different. ACLs. Like, look, Carson Wentz is fixed,
yeah.
body wise, just not mentally. He's
yeah,
fixed.
Well,
yeah.
I
He's
think
fixed all right.
nah, I think for me with Carson Wentz, it was that Clowney hit. That Clowney hit
Yep,
just took him out.
Yeah, that's
You know
great.
what I mean?
Yeah, Connie.
That it
changed his
took him out
mind
for
real
a
quick.
while. Yeah. But let me get, you mentioned the receivers, and one receiver, if I can mention, David Bell out of Purdue. That's someone I think you should watch. A little slow in the 40 time, understandable, but the kid's a beast.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like we love the 40s, and don't get me wrong, that's what made me even look at Quez Watkins when I first saw
Mhm.
it. Like, um, I did a video just rating everybody's 40, and I'm like, Quez Watkins in second place. Oh, he's a golden eagle. Golden eagle. Maybe he'll turn into a Philly eagle. But at the end of the day, like you don't run in shorts on the field. And when your game tape
Right.
is your game tape, like Traylon Burks, he didn't have a quick 40 time, right? He ran a little slower, but when you watch him on film, he beats people. He beats people in his pads. He gets to the second level, and you got safeties and DBs behind him. And so, you know, I try to look at what the combine to me is supposed to do is supposed if you have questions, that guy's fast on tape. Let me see what is 40, right? That is supposed to be your matching pace, right? Like, you know, you see this in film. Let me see if it's there or there over there. But my thing is, if you think he's fast on film, but he ran bad, well, there's a better chance he had a bad day that game, or that run, that
Mhm.
test in the combine, more than every single game he played against competition was a joke. No, that's going to be the real stuff. See, what I don't like is when you look at somebody's attributes, like, dang, look how good they are in shorts. Now let me go watch a tape, and now I'm trying to say I'm only looking at this guy because of what he did in shorts. The guys who
Right.
do stuff on the film that you like that stood out to you all year watching college football. I'm talking about scouts and people who watch it because I don't. I come in late and then do my research as best as I can in crunch time. Again, I'm a procrastinator anyways. I used to do my homework the day before. Like we have a project that's due for 3 months, and Sunday night I really might do it for 8 hours. You know what I mean? Before I had to hand that junk in.
Yeah. And you just like me, man. I'm the type of
You,
person I
you know,
procrastinate. I wish
there's.
last minute.
I always say this. There's game speed, and then there's these test speeds. It's completely different. These guys got pads on. It's just different, man.
Yeah, when it comes to the 40, people have to understand too, not every wide receiver is a track athlete. Not every
That's right.
receiver knows how to get set in blocks and his hand moving and his head moving where it should be at 10 yards. They don't know all that. They know football. They've been playing football for most of their life. They don't, travel into that track side of the world. That's why when you see a lot of those players, especially from Baylor, those guys who ran the best 40s, they're track guys. Yeah, there
And
are
that's
wide
just it.
receivers,
There's
but that's
adrenaline
the
too.
thing too. They came from the track side of that world. So they know how to run the 40. They've been running 40s, how long? Who's to say this was the first, time that David Bell's been introduced to a 40? Yeah, they do run it in college, but it isn't the same as you do in the NFL.
And
So you know what I'm saying? I think you got to take that with not saying a grain of salt, but you got to put that a part of the equation, but it shouldn't be a large part of it.
yeah, and getting in and out of your breaks is totally different too, right? Like running straight, hurdling, whatever you want to talk about as speed and athleticism, right? The fact of the matter is you got pads on. The fact of the matter is you got a defensive player on your hip. You can't just be fast, you got to be strong. You can't just be fast, you got to be technical. You can't just be fast, you got to have agility and burst. And so all that
Yep.
gets equivalated into a wide receiver. That's why guys like Plexico Burris, guys like Alshon Jeffrey, guys like you know, the slow wide receivers that still somehow get open because of their physicality. Brandon Marshall never ran a fast 40, right?
Mhm.
Plexico Burris and all the guys I just named, they didn't run fast 40s. Braylon Edwards, well, I don't know, maybe
Devontae
he's a little
Parker, if I'm not
faster.
mistaken, probably had one of the worst combines out of a receiver.
I kind of
Slow
don't remember it,
speed.
but yeah.
Yeah, he didn't run fast. He had a horrible broad jump. Like he didn't test well. And that's one of the reasons why he did fall. But you seen like when healthy, he's a great receiver.
Yeah, right. You look at like all the speed guys that came out when CD Lamb came out, right? CD Lamb wasn't quite the fastest. He's one of the best.
Hmm.
One of the best.
Yeah. But let me ask you a question. We'll move aside from the receiver position. Let me just ask you in general, who do you have your eye on in the draft?
Oof, 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 oof. Um, again, I got guys that I hope fall to us, right? Like Derek Stingley Jr. Is that foot a concern? Right now, he did just have his pro day, and he ran again 4.35 or something as a DB. My man jumped 38 and a half vertical, 10.2. 10 feet 2 inches broad jump, so you got the freak athleticism, right? Reports did come out though that he's not the avid tackler, like attitude wise decision making, and he doesn't practice as well. That things do worry you, but I mean, I think he's going to be a dog. Does Sauce Gardner deserve to be ahead of him now with everything transpiring? Probably. Again, do people look at the red flags of LSU's Derek Stingley and hold him back, right? Because Tyrann Mathieu coming out the draft, he fell too because of some of them same things off the field, attitude, blah, 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 blah. Smoked a little weed,
They're kids
exactly.
too, man.
So
Respectfully, over 18.
Yeah, and LSU produces players, bro. Like, honestly, yes, you can find the Christian Watsons and the them players of the world across the other college teams. But when have you ever seen players come out of LSU, Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia at not quarterback position? Because that position can bust at any time, right? It's hard translating from the college quarterback to the NFL quarterback. It's totally different. However, cornerbacks, wide receivers, like the skill position or the on offense or defense, when they come out of these schools, they're good. They're not bad. So I don't know, because I do think there's going to be players falling, but let's just say the mock draft is the mock draft. Like how the mock drafts fall. I think the Eagles, would love to get and will try to get one of these two, Jordan Davis. But I think the one that's going to be there and the Eagles will get is Devontae Wyatt. I think he will be.
Say it again. Just one more
Devontae
time.
Wyatt will, to me, again, well, your question was, who are you looking at in the draft? I wouldn't be mad at Devontae Wyatt. I think
I like him.
I think he has a next level, right? Georgia not scouts, but Georgia personnel has spoke highly about him, saying what you've seen all through his final year of college is not what he's going to be, and what we've seen was great, but they just believe this kid can go to another level. It's hard for me to say who I want because I don't want to say a guy who's unrealistic or blah 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 blah. I like linebackers. I would take in a Kobe Dean or a Devin Lloyd in a heartbeat, just because I want that position in Philly to be legitly solidified. However, if Devontae Wyatt's there, I don't see the Eagles going off it. That is what they really want. I forgot the Twitter account, but he used to work for the Eagles, and he knows how the Eagles think. And he talked about Devontae Wyatt. If and when he's there, it's going to be picked. So I'm just going to leave it at that for now.
Listen,
that's
I like
who you want.
I like to think that Eagle scouts were listening to me and AK when we had that debate back then between Davis and Wyatt, and they've been listening to us ever since. Because, like I said, my thing was stick with the Georgia defensive line and stick hard, because like only good things will come about it. I think those three, Wyatt, David, and Davis, they're going to be studs. In their respective rights, they're going to be studs. But we made our moves. Hopefully, we can get one of the three, maybe two. But we'll see how it goes. But let me ask, what player would you be willing to trade up
for? I got two.
Go ahead. Let me hear yours first.
I got Sauce Gardner and Hamilton. Those are the two guys I would trade up for.
Yeah. I agree with. I'll take both of them, and maybe again, if Thibodeau is still there later, I'm outside. Again, for them, you might got to trade up. 4, 5, 6, 7. Thibodeau, again, if he's falling like some reports say, then it may be 8, 9, 10, 11. So it depends on where, trade up. But yeah, I think Hamilton, Sauce, and Thibodeau are all going to be great players. And if somehow you can steal one of them from
spicy
Sauce
take right there. Whew. Hey,
ouch.
I'm not going to say it's out of the realm of question, because when we look at the competition he's been playing against, he might be the big fish in the small pond. We'll see.
Oh yeah, let me just say this though, right? Because everybody turned to Sauce, and I said, well, everything that has transpired, he deserves to be the number one cornerback off the board. He does, right? He deserves it. Now, Is he going to be the number one cornerback off the board? I don't know. I just think this right here. My thing is, if you ask me who's going to go first, Stingley or Sauce, I'm going to say Sauce. If you ask me who I think is going to have a better career in the NFL, I think Stingley. I think Stingley is, for all the down things, his attitude. Listen, sometimes the attitude, right? You want a guy who's going to make everybody else in the locker room feel comfortable and this and the third. But
That's the dog.
I'm telling you, I just think Stingley's going to be Jalen Ramsey-ish. He's going to be a guy that 5 years from now we're like, wow, he's gonna win a defensive of the year award, something along them lines. I know it's hard for corners to win it anyways. What am I talking about? Just like the MVP go to only quarterbacks, the defensive thing is only going to be going to line pass rushers nowadays. But I won't agree with East Coast Gridiron saying he's a bust, but I think Stingley is going to be the better player in the NFL.
We'll see.
I definitely agree with that. Like I said, I like Sauce. I like, I think if people I
like Sauce.
He didn't allow a touchdown. He had that stat where he didn't allow a touchdown throughout the whole season. I like that. I think he's going to be a good player. But when you look at Stingley, I think he's a different type. Like I said, everyone wants to see that tape that he has with Jamar Chase. But that's only one tape. He was doing that all day in practice. And we're talking about Jamar Chase, who rookie of the year, who let's be honest, got the Bengals to the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow did a lot. But again, none of that's going to get done without Jamar Chase. But let me get to this question right here. The chat put up. Your thoughts on a trade down scenario from 15 with the Chiefs, 15, 124, 29, 103, and a 2024 first. The Chiefs jumped the Saints, Chargers for wide receivers. Eagles try to get Ojabo and a future first. What are your thoughts?
I posted a thing on Twitter like 4 days ago just for GP, and I said, do not come at me. I'm just asking a question, because Twitter, like you get that tweet that goes viral, and then people think that you mean it, whatever, blah blah blah. So, my thing was a trade back with not pick 15, but I traded 18 to the Chiefs. I traded 18, 83. And 1883 and 124 for 29 and 30.
So that's what, first, third, and a fifth?
That's a first, third, and a first
or fourth.
Yeah, a first, third, and a fourth. A first, third, and a fourth for 2 firsts, but 29 and 30. And they accepted it. They accepted a trade. I'm not saying, and again, I don't know the point system if it's highway robbery on either way. I just did it, and I liked it, because then it was you draft 15, 29, 30, 51. So I just, that's, so then, and then, because again, from 15 to 29, the people on Pro Football Focus and the Draft Network's draft didn't really change much, but in the real draft, it could be a run for something, and you can lose out on some players. But see, I was able to get at 29 and 30, I was able to get like Treylon Burks plus like an Andrew Booth Jr. or a Kyle Alam. So then it was, Devontae Wyatt at 15, Kyer Alam plus Treylon Burks, and then next time I pick is 51. So it's two late first rounds for a middle first round, third, and a fourth, and so kind of like what he said. But I think the Chiefs could be looking at one of these, team picks to come up and get a wide receiver because of the whole Tyreek Hill leave.
Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be a position of premium. And when you look at the quarterback position, I think, a lot of people aren't really talking about the quarterbacks, because that's going to be the big jump. Once Kenny Pickett comes off the board at Carolina, all hell's going to break loose.
You think the Saints draft a quarterback with one of them first rounds?
They have to. You can't go into the season with Winston. You can't do that. Like,
you don't believe him at all?
Well, no, I don't think they believe it. I think if their plan is we want the first pick next season, it would be dumb, because that comes to us, if I'm not mistaken. So for them, it's just because I think that's what we traded for them, their first round pick for next year.
Yeah.
So I don't think their intent is to come in here and try to give us the first overall. They're going to try to do something. They got to build that team as fast as possible. The Saints, they've been at the bottom of the league for years before Drew Brees. I don't think they're going to be so quick to go back. They're going to want to stay relevant for a while longer. But let me ask you with the final question. If you were the Eagles GM, what would pick 15 and 18 look like?
Um, let me hear what Jerry got to say first. What would you do 15 and 18?
15 and 18. If we were to stay there,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
well, I really don't know. I mean, it
it's
it
hard.
depends on who would fall, man. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I think for me, my thought is, depending if we're talking about defensive end, I know Walker won't be there. That was my dream. But if we do the lineman, it'll be Wyatt. Now that second pick, I think for the Eagles, they're going to do receiver. I think they're going to go with defense first pick, receiver. But yeah, man, if it's me, I'm gonna have to say Wyatt and then Olave if he's there available.
Yeah. I'd probably go with if Karlaftis is still there, I'd go with him.
It's another good pick. Yeah.
And 18, I guess I'm probably sure they're going to go receiver too. I'd probably go whoever is on the board still for receiver, Burks or whoever, Wilson, any of them, Watson.
Yeah.
If I'm the Eagles GM, I'm shutting down this 40-year-old narrative that we don't take linebacker, and I'm selecting one, Nakobe Dean or Devin Lloyd. And as much as Devin Lloyd has the size I think Devin Lloyd is the projected, the preferred player because what his attributes will translate. But let me go back to the tape and watching it. I think Nakobe Dean, although he got little short arms and blah blah blah, he's a player. He's a baller. Give me one of them. I think I might even go to Kobe Dean, but give me one of them at 15, and then at 18, I'll try to get my defensive end and whoever's there. I think still might be able to get a Jermaine Johnson the third. I think he got a high motor. I like what he's able to do. So I would go something along them lines. And shout out to LT for sneaking up in here. And I know he won a wide receiver a lot, but I would have to try to get that, second round, pick 51. Maybe there's a George Pickens. There's a, Mechie later. Maybe one of these other guys drop a little bit. But I think Pickens, again, injury concerns, but he's a baller, So I think at 51, you could still get a wide receiver that's better than anybody on his team, minus Devontae Smith.
It could be Christian Watson.
Yeah, because again, he's moving up because of his attributes, but still there could be things that keep him,
It's the lack of competition, where everyone goes to. It's that lack of competition. And can his game translate to the NFL? Because let's be honest, it's a bigger jump when you're going from that AA, that division AA, compared to the 1A. When you're looking at a player from Alabama or from the SEC compared to North Dakota State. There's a big difference in talent that you're going up against every week. But when he's played big. But with that being said, listen, Philly, Mike, I would like to thank you for coming through. Everyone in the chat, appreciate you all. We chop it up in the DM.
He just throwing out everybody's a bust.
I will say this though, my guy sticks to the tape. He is one of the content creators that do stick to the tape.
I'm about to check him out.
I won't take his word for granted. There's probably some truth to that. He's probably seen something that we have not. But hey, he's watched more tape than I have, so I'd have to take his word for it if that's what he's saying. But we'll see what happens. Again, that jump from college to the pros, it all depends on who can make the leap. Do you have what it takes to make that leap? You can be from a Division 3A school and still make it.
That's
one of the greatest. Reggie White, Jerry Rice, come from a Division 3A school and still killed it.
And he was never fast, but somehow he gets in the open field. Nobody could catch him, right?
Yep. Nobody can stop him.
Interesting. Yep. He catch that slant. There's still two players to beat. Somehow 40 yards down the field, that one player couldn't catch him, but he didn't run a 4.3, right? And shout out to Quez Watkins. I'm not trying to take a slight on him, but somehow he ran a 4.3 and he got caught on that 91-yard pass. Angles, hey, it's different when that ball in your hand, but Quez is all that is advertised when it comes to speed.
Yeah.
Let me ask, who does East Coast Gridiron like? He's an Eagle fan?
Nah, I don't think he's an Eagles fan specifically. He likes football. I don't think he ever mentioned. I think I'm on to say Minnesota, but I'm probably wrong. East Coast, if you can, real quick, What's your favorite NFL team? I don't know if we Jaguars.
Jaguars. Okay,
Not,
Dougie P.
Mhm.
He got the Super Bowl 52
hey man, Florida
quarterback.
State, great team. But Jaguars got a lot to prove this season. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
they do. So does
I'm sure
Dougie P.
you're in on that team with Doug Peterson, and I will have you on the show because I like to get your thoughts on Press Taylor and all that. Because to me, I think it's already starting off bad, but we'll see what happens with them.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I think they have a chance to have a bright future. I mean, I think they overpaid for Christian Kirk. Don't get me wrong, but he's still a solid player. I like, again, if you have him, if you end up getting a true number one outside, right? And then you have Christian Kirk, bouncing in and outside on number two and inside the slot, I think if Trevor Lawrence takes just reins it in a little bit and becomes the player that everybody believed he could be, he was the highest touted quarterback since Andrew Luck. So again, that doesn't always translate, but I do think, again, he had his up and downs, but you can see that he has the ability and the attributes to be able to, make the leap. I think he's going to translate very well in the next upcoming years, couple years. You could really probably use that whole Peyton Manning was bad his first year too. When the people say that for Jalen Hurts, I understand that in the general subject, meaning give him more time to see. But he's never going to be able to do what Peyton Manning does. That's not what his game is. Can he make better reads? Yes. Can he throw the ball better? Yes. But Trevor Lawrence, although he can move around, he wants to be a Peyton Manning. So more power to him. And I'm a root for the Jags as long as they don't play the Eagles, which they do this year. I'll root for them every game because Dougie P, even though I kind of wanted him out just because of how things were transpiring, I didn't really want him out. I just needed him to change his staff, and he ain't want to do it. But shout out to Dougie P for getting chance number 2.
Hey,
Right.
we saw he still hasn't changed that staff.
He get them all back.
He called the guy. He called the guy.
Oh my man! Oh my guys!
As soon as he got the job, he hit him up. Was like, "We're back."
Hey, Press, come on. Yeah, man. But Philly Mike, appreciate you for coming through, my guy. Hopefully we can do this again. You listen, let the people know where they can find you, like they don't know already, but let the people know.
Well, all you gotta do is type in either two things: Philly Mike in the search bar, even though that's not my channel name, it'll pop up, or the Philly Talk podcast, and you'll see it cover Eagles, Sixers, and maybe soon to be Phillies. I don't know how I feel about that. It's not that I don't like them. It's just that, man, I got a lot of stuff on my plate. So we're gonna try to do all that. I'm looking to get a big Eagles collab too soon, so we might go heavy, 5, 6, 7, 8 deep, and then of course I'll send out to invite for you guys too. I just want to get some of the guys that are out there working too, the Bird Gang 31s, the JC Eagle Talks, Tone the Shields, some of these guys plus you guys. We go out there, maybe get Philly Foothills and AK, just get one real big stream on my channel and see how it goes. I try to get on as many people's show as possible, but the Sixers put a damper on it because they're streaming every other day. You know what I mean? So early in the basketball season, I can get away with missing some because that doesn't really, it's not as big. But with all the moves the Eagles have making and all just the rumorville that's been around, the Eagle news and the Sixer news have been keeping me every day dropping something. So it's hard to bounce around. But I do low key slack on weekends with my own content. You know what I mean? So it's cool to jump around there. Yeah.
Sometimes you got to give some time to yourself, like we said before the show. You got to take rest. I mean, because if not, then this becomes stagnant. You don't want to do it after a while. But if you're covering the Phillies, listen, bless you. That's going to be an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, it would only be play by plays. Like if I start doing it, and it wouldn't be every game, of course. It'd be maybe like a game or two a week because they play a lot and they play early and stuff like that. But it'd be cool to see how I do. And just again, if I'm watching it, why not do it live, right?
Yeah, hey, I'll be tuning in. So you got the people that'll come up. Jerrylee, my guy, let the good people know where they can find you.
Backyard Birds podcast and right here on the big ticket. Y'all have a good one.
Yeah, man. Listen, everybody out there, appreciate you for coming through. Everybody in the chat, East Coast Gridiron, Big Play Slay. Everybody that came through, appreciate you. I don't mean to disrespect the name your names, but those are the first that came to mind because they were going back and forth. But listen, love having these conversations. Like I said at the top of the show, if you're aspiring to be a YouTube content creator, a reporter, whatever it is in the media, it's great to have that ambition, but don't have that ambition at the cost of your empathy to others. I mean, there's a way to go about things, and you can put that information out. Just be your own person. You don't have to be the first in line to get there. Um, for me, Victory, you can catch me every week here on the Big Ticket. You'll catch me every Wednesday with my guy, AK Eagles. We got to cut out the uncensored. We're changing things up on his end. Philly Foothills, and my brother from Another Mother, Gio from the 215 on the East Meets West channel. If you can, please go to all of our channels, subscribe, hit that like button, and one more favor, put a comment in there. It helps out the algorithm, pushes us out there. So, again, Philly Mike, thank you for coming through. I greatly appreciate it. This has been a great show. Thank you, everyone that came through, and we'll see you next week.
Arvita Beats.